Day 1. The human body model created for the first time following the tutorial. I tried to express a party atmosphere out of joy, but it turned surreal. Day 2. I arranged only the colors based on the girl created according to the tutorial. The clothes and body are integrated. Day 3. I made a human body model with arms spread wide based on the initial tutorial and dressed it in a simple dress. It took more time to make the fingers of the human body model than the dress. Day 4. I started making the donut I originally intended to create. Since there are many steps, I progressed up to around part 5 of the tutorial video for now. I got bored, so I started working on another tutorial for creating a female body. Isn't it a decent job for the first time? I'm almost remembering the basic shortcuts for Blender. Day 5. Continuing with the donut. I learned about the geometry node to sprinkle color sprinkles. Finally, I made a plate and completed it for the time being. With this, the donut tutorial is halfway through part 9. I realized that my machine power is significantly insufficient to render in cycles. I also started making the lower body of the female model. Although I'm following the tutorial, I feel that I need to learn the basics of human anatomy because I'm relying on my intuition. Day 6. As a continuation of the human body model, I made a mask for the female. Since I want to create a beautiful anime model, I completed only the front-facing mask of the head, according to this tutorial. The fine detailing was quite difficult. Although there are many things I want to make, I need to narrow down my focus first, so I want to complete one human body model first. Day 7. Continuing with the head. Everything is complete except for the eyes. The ears took a lot of time. Compared to the ears of the model from day 2, it's quite well done. The reason it looks a bit rough is that this is a low polygon model with only 1336 triangular faces. It seems that for models used in games and such, the rule is to keep the polygon count as low as possible to lighten the data. Day 8. I added eyes, eyelids, eyebrows and eyelashes to the head. Human body modeling is too difficult, so as a distraction, I decided to 3D model a bird I made out of clay in the past. I made it casually without worrying about the details, so it was enjoyable. I think it turned out to be a cute character, good enough to appear in a game. I also tried making a grassy field. Following a tutorial that I could create quickly, I added a simple animation where the camera rotates once. However, it took about an hour to render a low-resolution video of only 2 seconds at 50 frames, making me realize that my machine specs are insufficient for animation in Blender. Day 9. Actually, there was a modeling tutorial for hands that I initially attempted as day 0. However, as a complete beginner, it was too difficult, so I gave up halfway through. Therefore, I decided to retry making those hands. I can now make them about 2.5 times faster compared to when I first made them. I managed to clear the latter half this time, which I had given up on before, and completed the hand modeling according to the tutorial. By the way, this is also a low polygon model with 816 triangular faces, so it looks a bit rough. Next time, I will connect the head, torso and hands. Day 10. I created ankles and finally combined the body parts I had been working on for the past 7 days. At last, the base body model is complete, but it seems like it will be a long way before it can be animated. However, compared to the model from day 1, it has much more detail, and I can feel my progress. Since there are still 20 more days until the 30th day, I want to complete this human body model as a character. I applied the radial modeling tutorial to create a model like a spike accessory. I'm getting better at creating shapes as I imagine, but I still don't know how to add colors and textures. Day 11. I started creating hair. When hair is added, the character instantly becomes more character-like. Today, I worked on the front side of the head only. Since I started creating the hairstyle a bit differently from the original tutorial, it's taking some time. I should have followed the tutorial exactly from the beginning. On the 11th day, I'm already feeling discouraged. My concentration is decreasing, so I'm trying to create unnecessary things. Day 12. I completely deviated from character creation and learned a tutorial on fluid simulation. I was attracted by beautiful thumbnails and tried it, but there were so many settings that it was tough. Fortunately, thanks to my previous learning, I managed to keep up with the content of the tutorial and complete it. When it comes to animation, It's tough on my PC specs. Rendering just this took 4 to 5 hours. It seems that my Mac Mini cannot use the GPU. I want a GPU that can render properly in cycles. Day 13. Completely deviating from modeling, I learned tutorials on geometry nodes and compositing. I loaded a 3D city model made by Japan's Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism, Project Plateau, into Blender. Added a suitable background material, added effects with node-based compositing, and tried to create an atmosphere. Maybe I'm more suited for compositing than modeling. I find it enjoyable to create a beautiful atmosphere with effects. However, to do that, I need to become familiar with shaders and geometry nodes, so I want to learn about them too. Day 14. It's the second week since I started learning. I learned a simple tutorial on animating a cube. I quickly got used to keyframes. Then, I added atmosphere with compositing and it turned out well. For the past 3 days, I haven't done much modeling. I've been learning a lot about shaders, nodes, and compositing. Day 15. Still deviating from character creation, I modeled headphones. It was my first time doing product design, but it went well because I followed the tutorial. I imagined the coloring similar to Hatsune Miku. Blender also has a feature to move objects according to sound, so I tried making a monkey react to sound. I also learned a tutorial on creating premium cards. It's just pasting an image onto a plain polygon, but setting up shader nodes took some time. I'm satisfied with the result. Day 16. Here's a tip. In the Render Properties panel under the Shadows section, set the cube size to 2048px. Increasing the size of the shadow map will result in more detailed shadows. I was able to create anime-like 3D clouds quite nicely. But even with just this simple animation, exporting takes quite a bit of time. So, what should I do if I want to add other objects? Do I need a higher spec computer? Or perhaps I might need sponsorship from a GPU manufacturer? Day 17. It was my first time moving bones with rigging, but the animation tutorial for this creature was easy to follow and fun to create. I used emission shaders for the glowing effect. Flowers were something I've always wanted to make, so I was delighted that they were easy to create following the tutorial. I learned to UV unwrap the modeled petals and add color with texture painting. I also learned a tutorial on pouring coffee into a cup with fluid simulation. Since the tutorial didn't cover how to make a mug, I created it myself and applied a texture to the outer surface. Day 18. For some reason, I ended up making an axe. I modeled it in low polygon, UV unwrapped it, and added color and atmosphere with texture painting. The original tutorial's axe had really amazing texture painting, but I'm not confident in drawing, and painting with a mouse was quite challenging. Still, I managed to paint it somehow. I think it would be fun to use it in a game. I made cute cat-shaped icing cookies. Both modeling and coloring the materials were simple, and it was a tutorial that allowed me to easily and lightly create like a cookie. However, there wasn't detailed explanation, so I think I could only make it after my learning up to this point. Day 19. I learned a tutorial on creating jelly and rubber balls using soft body physics. It was easy to create without modeling, and it's fun, like a game. I think it's a feature that can be applied in various ways. Remember how we all struggled with the first donut making? It took me more than 3 days. However, there was a tutorial to make a donut using fluid simulation in just 1 minute. Although you can create a beautiful donut picture if you follow the tutorial, I needed an animation of the icing process on the donut for this 30-day video, so I skipped the meshing step. Therefore, the animation looks strange, but at this point, I don't know how to control the fluid to stop at the right place without meshing. Day 20. I tried an animation tutorial where you cut the grass grown with particles using dynamic paint. It looked interesting, and I could easily follow the tutorial, and it seems like there are various applications for it. I made it with a healing finish. I thought about resuming the character model I was working on in day 6 and day 7, but I had completely forgotten about it by now, so I started over from scratch. It took half a day to create the head, which originally took 2 days. It's interesting that even though I made them exactly the same, their expressions are different. The one I made first has a stiff expression and feels cold. The one I remade feels a bit more relaxed in expression. I just want to complete this character in the remaining days of the 30-day challenge. Day 21. Since detailed modeling seemed time-consuming, I decided to rig the girl model I made on day 2 first. Although the model is simple, I've rigged all bones except for the fingertips. It took me a whole day just for this. The model and the body are not yet synchronized, so only the bones are moving at the moment. I think I'll be able to animate it by tomorrow. Day 22. I finally made the ultra-low poly girl character from day 2 walk. While the clothes and body are integrated, the hair tips sway with physics simulation. The feet still seem to slip a bit. Creating a natural walk is quite challenging. Having fewer movable parts saved me. If I had tried to animate the full model from the beginning, the process might have been too complex, and I might have given up halfway through. I'm glad I tried it with a simple low poly model. Day 23. I remade the female body. I can make it twice as fast as the first week. Even though the steps are the same, the shape has improved significantly, at least to my noticing. Day 24. I revisited the hairstyle creation I escaped from on day 11 due to its complexity. It's tough to adjust the layering of hair properly. Adding hair gives the character a sense of completion. Finally, I can move on. Day 25. I created the parts around the eyes and underwear, then added colors with shaders. Since I didn't use textures, I still feel the lack of depth, but I'm happy to see the atmosphere of the animated character finally emerging. Just adjusting the lighting makes it look somewhat decent. Day 26. I painted colors with texture paint to add depth and an anime-like feel to the character modeling, which is almost complete. It's my first time painting, and I used a mouse, so it's quite rough, but I think I managed to capture the vibe. I express hair color and light with textures created solely with shaders. Thanks to the tutorial, even an amateur like me who can't paint could achieve this level. The tutorial was just amazing. Now, all I have to do is add bones and animate it. Day 27. I slightly adjusted the body shape and completed the bone rigging for the whole body. I still need to add bones for the hair and want to move the expressions. Plus, I need to create some clothes to put on. Day 28. I made a school uniform, skirt, ribbon, shoes and other clothing items and dressed the character. I painted the wrinkles and shadows of the clothes with just the atmosphere, but I need to seriously learn painting. Anyway, the character design is complete now. I haven't finished adding bones to the hair and expressions yet. Day 29. I added bones to the hair and made it move with physics simulation. I also added bones to the eyes so they can blink. It was a tedious and mundane task that almost broke my spirit, but I managed to set it up somehow. Now, all that's left is to add animation and finish it. Day 30. Completed. Finally, I added bones to the skirt to adjust the animation to feel the wind and added cherry blossom petals with particles. Only the background image is borrowed. I think I've composited it seamlessly, just like in an anime. I finished the final video rendering right at midnight, exactly at the end of this 30-day challenge. The final character polygon count, triangles, is 31,384. Reflection on completion. At first I thought it was impossible, and I almost gave up in the middle of creating the original character. However, I managed to pull through. I believe that various tutorials I took, even if they took me the long way around, helped me gain a broad understanding of Blender's features, which ultimately aided in creating the final artwork. In creating animated characters, I've come to realize that both modeling and texturing are crucial. There are many aspects that can be simplified with textures. Rigging bones is also incredibly challenging, so I want to research easier methods for animation. It all boils down to what I ultimately want to achieve. If I intend to use it in a game, I'll need to learn how to import it into other engines. If I'm staying within Blender, I could create even more detailed, high polygon characters realistically, and learning sculpting features could make the process even more efficient. Anyway, I'm exhausted, but I feel a sense of accomplishment. I might tackle something completely different next. Thank you for watching this video. If you gained anything from this video, please leave a comment or give it a thumbs up. See you again.